This NL East Divisional Betting Preview edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost. Earn up to $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Rhythm is giving away a $250 future and throwing a March Madness party. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/party for details. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Thursday, I've got no idea, good start. Thursday, the 6th of March is the answer. We are here to bring you number 2 in our divisional betting previews. Tonight is the NL East. We've got 1 down and 4 to go after this. Joining me for the first time in what seems like years, is probably about 5 months though, is Mr. Dylan Rockford. D-Rock, how the hell are you? You're a sight for sore eyes. I missed you.
I missed you too. It's good to be back. Got a great division to break down. NL East, got loads to talk about there. But I'm good. Good to see you. Baseball is a week and a half away from the Tokyo opening day. Cannot wait for that. And yeah, I'm good. I got a weird question for you to start off real quick though. It was National Pancake Day yesterday or 2 days ago. So obviously I forgot. And so I had pancakes before the show. And I looked up, I have a friend in London, and is it true that people in the UK, they have lemon pancakes with sugar?
That's what we had on Tuesday, yeah. Bob came in from school and asked for pancakes before football. Yeah, I made him 4. I had a couple myself, and we had lemon juice and sugar. So yeah, just sprinkle sugar and a squirt of lemon juice and roll them up, and that was it.
Yeah, they roll them up too. I gotta make that next time, and I'll report back. But damn, that sounds amazing.
I mean, really, really simple. It couldn't be any more simple. But yeah, absolutely delicious. Rolled up like a cigar. Yeah, all for it. He had a couple with jam in as well, which you would call jelly, just with plain old strawberry jam. So he had a couple of strawberry jam and a couple of lemon and sugar, and I just had the lemon sugar ones. But yeah, they were top class, mate. I didn't know we shared. I thought Pancake Day was a typically English thing. I didn't know you had that because it's Shrove Tuesday, which I just thought was one of these ridiculous oldie English traditions that we have every 2 weeks.
No, pancakes are huge here in the States. And out of the 3, I think like the big 3, pancakes, waffles, and French toast. Pancakes by far take the lead. Yeah, it's the big 3. Honestly, waffles are they're like below. French toast, underrated. Big, strong number 2 for me.
Yeah, I think it's French toast eggy bread, I think we would call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what.
Yeah.
Oh, Dylan, you can tell we probably should have done this off air, really. Just felt our way back into our relationship by talking about absolute bollocks before. Some people will be new to the show this year, Dylan, and won't be prepared for the level of absolute nonsense you have to put up with before you get to any sort of baseball talk. But yes, we did an episode in December, didn't we? We did a little hot stove episode in December. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it will have been October since we spoke last. But as I said at the top of the show, we've got 1 preview already done. The other 4 are already scheduled. The Propcast is on the horizon, the MLB Propcast, which is new to the network, with Scott of this parish and Adam Rosenberg, who you'll probably know. MLB props 3 times a week as well. So if you listen to this via podcast, by all means, look up the YouTube, come across, join us live. There are a couple of people lurking in the live chat, so If you've got anything you want to say, stick your head above the parapet and say hello. NL East tonight, which is a good place really for you to start, Dylan, because you're New York Mets. Just as a fan, how you feeling going into the season? You excited?
I'm trying to stay level-headed, trying to not get too high or go too low. But, injuries have already happened in our starting rotation. But outside of that, obviously, we were on a few months ago. Big addition of Juan Soto. At the time, we haven't signed Pete Alonso. So it was nice to get him back on a friendly deal. But outside of that, I'm at a 7.5, let's just say. Highly positive, but as a Met fan, what could go wrong will probably go wrong.
Absolutely. Well, we'll cover the Mets in their entirety in a few minutes. For the first time this season, we get to say aye, Captain, to Captain Insano. Captain's back, and the abstract Homo sapien, who I remember dimly in my memory from last season, has joined us as well. Welcome back. So we're going to go team by team and go through World Series, division, playoffs, totals. There's 3 good teams. There's 2 absolute bums in this division. But we'll cover everything. There's a bet to be had on all of them. I'm going to tell you first about merch madness. Obviously, everyone gearing up for the basketball. Even I'm excited for first half unders. The promo code in our merch store is madness for 20% off. Getting before the promo code is done. So that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/merch, and the code is madness. That will give you 20% off. SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, racetrack, casino. You can earn up to $750 per month in cashback rewards. The card is FDIC insured. There's no credit checks. It's completely free. Use the promo code SGPN to get better cashback rewards. Edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. And finally, mybookie.ag, the place to bet every sport. Props for every game. MyBookie accepts customers from loads of different locations. You can use crypto to deposit. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. We'll give you a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. So, we're going to start, Dylan, with the Atlanta Braves. We'll go from the top of the market down. The Braves here for the World Series are trading at 9-1. To win this league, the National League, plus 475. The division, plus 135. And the total is sitting at 93.5. Underwhelming from the Braves' point of view last year. They won 89 games. They scraped into the playoffs by virtue of that weird Monday doubleheader with the Mets the day after the season finished, where the Mets and the Braves split a doubleheader. So the Braves, they didn't finish second in the division on tiebreakers, qualified, but they were 6 games behind the Phillies. And then went out to the Padres. They were swept 2-0 by the Padres in the wild card. I'm struggling to get behind a big revival. It's not like they were bad. They were worse than they have been previously. Ronald Acuna Jr. obviously was the big miss all year. He should be ready for opening day. Power should still be there. Got no problem with that. Don't know if he'll steal 70 bags like he did a couple of years ago coming off the injury. They might just be a little bit more circumspect with him. In terms of additions and subtractions, there's not much going on in Atlanta. Again, it's been quite lukewarm. They've added Jurickson and Profar, which doesn't move the needle much. Hector Neris in the bullpen, he's all right. Again, it's not something that blows your skirt up. And the lineup really doesn't do much for me. It just looks a little bit stale, Dylan. We know that Riley and Olsen and Acuna are all good players. but Azuna's getting a little bit old. Harris and Albies, they're all there. They're all decent. But I think they've already reached their ceiling, those players. I don't see much improvement in them. Do you know what I mean? Especially on the back of last year. And it's the same with the rotation. The top three's okay. Chris Sale, great last year. Ronaldo Lopez. Schwellenbach. No problem with any of them. But then it's Grant Holmes and it's Ian Anderson. Not names that you'd be rushing to the window to bet every 5 days. The bench is okay. The pen is okay. It just doesn't get me going, particularly, Dylan. Like, I'm not really enthused. I've probably looked at about 12 teams in detail so far in preparation for these series. And there's teams that got me more excited than Atlanta. I'm not inclined to bet them to win the division, plus 135. And I take the under. The total, like I said, is 93.5. It's not a strong feeling. There'll be other stuff I'll be betting in front of this.
Yeah.
But if you put a gun to my head, I would take the under 93.5. But yeah, I just not feeling it particularly strongly either way, Dylan.
Yeah, from reports that I've seen real quick, Acuna won't be ready for the start. They said he'll probably be around April, May-ish. So that is very unfortunate for him and the Braves. But yeah, I'm not going to take him to win the division. I really didn't like anything from the Braves because I kind of agree with you. I think I have an echo when you're not muted for whatever reason.
Okay.
Yeah, just to let you know. But yeah, I if anything, I would lean over 93.5 wins. You know, last year they were you mentioned it, they were riddled with injuries and they still flirted with around 90 wins. And I think we're going to see some positive regression on that end. And also, they're going to get their stars back eventually. So I hate to see it. I hate to say it, but I do think this team has a high floor. And, you know, this is a good team. This is a good year for them to get back on track. It is a big number, especially because of how good the division is. You got 3 good teams with the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies. And I do think we'll talk about it later, but I do think there's one up-and-coming team on the rise. And, you know, I think this offense will find a way, especially at home. I like Jurickson Profar, the addition that they made. He'll probably bat leadoff around there before Acuna comes back. You got Austin Riley, who's good, Matt Olson, Ozuna, Michael Harris II. I think he's good. Gerald Kalinick, he's at the bottom of the lineup as well. So I do think they'll be good offensively. I guess the one thing that really hesitated and stopped me from getting to the window with putting the over in, just the rotation. You know, Strider, he probably won't return till late April, early May. Ian Anderson, he hasn't pitched in the big since 2022. AJ Smith's a swoover. He had a 485 in AAA last year. Hudson Waldrop, he was good in the minors, but the last 2 starts he had in the majors, he got shelled. So I personally think they're going to need more protection for Sale. He threw a lot of innings last year. I hope he could stay healthy. I like Schwellenbach. He's good. He gets a lot of strikeouts. He could give the club a lot of innings. I think they need to add some more depth and protection around their number 1 and 2. But I do think they should be good enough to get around the 90 to 94 range. But if they get riddled with injuries again, I could definitely see them going under this number. It is pretty big.
Yeah. The competitiveness of the division, Dylan, something you're absolutely right to point out, because you do have 3 sort of star teams here at the top of the division, 3 teams that made the playoffs last year. It's entirely feasible that all 3 teams will make the playoffs again. The Braves are very, very short to make the playoffs, as you'd expect. Like I say, I don't dislike them. I'd like it, they just didn't inspire a strong feeling either way. We'll move on, Dylan, and we'll go to the Philadelphia Phillies next. The World Series price for Philadelphia is 12 to 1, 13 to 2 plus 650 to win the National League, plus 190 to win this division. Their total sits at 91.5, so 2 games fewer than the Braves. The Phillies, obviously the 2024 division winners here with 95 wins. Won it relatively comfortably from fairly early in the season. Who wasn't in doubt. The Mets kept them honest in the second half, but without ever looking like they were going to overhaul them. I'll tell you what, I'll lead off for the Phillies here, and then we'll leave you with your New York Mets next, Dylan. This team, to me, it seems to have more downside than upside. The top of the lineup is the same. For the first time in forever this year, Philly have not added a multi-year free agent. They've just sort of bumped around. They normally make one marquee signing, and they haven't done it this year. It's solid, but they've added Max Kepler. Max Kepler was a platoon bat in Minnesota. Brandon Marsh is going to start every day. He can't hit right. He was a platoon bat last year. Nick Castellanos, you just don't know what you're going to get out of him at all. Alec Bohm, they've shopped Alec Bohm around trying to get rid of him. He looks like he's got his head in the sand at the minute. I fear for Alec Bohm's season this year. They added Jesus Luzardo, which is a nice piece in the pen. He's looked really good in spring training. His fastball is way up. There's a little superficial change in the pen where Jordan Romano came in and Jeff Hoffman went out. I don't see too much changing, but like I say, there's just not the upside again. If anything, it's downside. Bryce Harper's gone a little bit mad. All he does now is drink raw cow's milk, apparently, which can't be good. He's going to miss half the season with the shits. That's my first bold prediction for 2025. Trey Turner, I believe, is going to hit leadoff as well, which is another. Let me just check the roster resource on that, actually, because obviously Kyle Schwarber has been doing that job unusually, but exceptionally well. Yeah, they've got Trey Turner penciled into lead off here, with Kyle Schwarber dropping down to back cleanup to hit in the 4-hole there. So that's just an interesting little cosmetic change for them. Andrew Painter is a name I want to point out. Andrew Painter was very much the talking horse 2 years ago, got injured in spring training. They've absolutely wrapped him in cotton wool. He should be back by around June. He's not even facing live hitters yet, even though he's entirely fit to do so. If you're going to draft a fantasy team and you've got spots on your bench, Andrew Painter might just win you the league by drafting him. If you can stash him till June or July. Andrew Painter, when we're doing these shows in the dog days of summer, Andrew Painter is someone we absolutely want on our side. They're going to be a tough team. They're hard as nails. They're very seasoned, very experienced. But again, it's not going to be top of the list back. I wouldn't take the over on them, and I don't fancy them to win the division either. It would be another no bet from me, but I would lean towards the under. I just think there's more downside than there is up, Dylan.
Yeah, real quick on perfect. Bryce Harper. I've been using his beard oil. Not a Bryce Harper fan, but the beard looks pretty good. Not gonna say. So that's one positive for the Phillies. Outside of that, you're right. I mean, I like the addition of Max Kepler. He'll probably be battened down in the lineup kind of by Brandon Marsh playing left field mostly. But, they did bring in Jordan Romero, 1 year, $8.5 million deal. So they traded for Jesus Luzardo. They have depth in that rotation, we'll say. But I am curious to see how Jordan Romero performs as a closer. That's kind of been one of their Achilles heels these last couple of years for the Philadelphia Phillies. Even though he only pitched 13 2/3 innings in 2024, he recorded 36 saves in back-to-back seasons with Toronto in 22 and 23. So if you could get back to that form, I think they got a really good deal for that. But I would agree. I do think they'll make the playoffs, but 91.5 wins is a lot of wins. They have cleared this win total in 4 straight seasons. But in my opinion, I do think the market has finally caught up to them. So I'm going to fade them. I'm going to take the under 91.5 wins at -115. This is the highest preseason win total since they've had the over-under of 93.5 back in 2012, where they finished with 81 wins. I don't think they're going to drop off that much, but like I said, I do think the NL East, is extremely difficult. I think the Braves should return to form, a little positive regression with that injury. The Mets, they added Juan Soto. Marlins are kind of shit. And the Nationals, I think they're on the rise a little bit. They're very young, and they always give them some fits. So everyone was high on the Phillies, I think, last year, especially in the first half of the season. They were really good. But then they finished the season just 33-33. They're a 500 team. And if you told me and everyone else that they were going to be playing over their heads, I probably wouldn't have believed you. I think regression is coming for this team. And I think we saw it in the second half of the season, which was more of that Phillies team we thought they were going to be. So I got them winning anywhere between 82 to 85 games this season. I think it'll be enough to get into the playoffs, probably a wild card spot, but I just don't see them winning 92 games this season. So, yeah, I'm going to take the under for them.
Yeah, that's way under, Dylan. If you've gone 82 to 85, that is a drop off. Yeah, Jordan Romano's okay. He's not hugely efficient. I do like Ryan Kirkering in the bullpen. He might emerge later on in the season as the closer. So yeah, not too much to dislike. But like I say, there's other teams that I do prefer. One of which, Dylan, is your New York Mets. The Mets are 10-1 for World Series glory, plus 525 for the National League, plus 180 to win the division. The total here is 91.5. 89 wins last year, tied with the Braves, made the wild card before eventually going down 4-2 to the LA Dodgers in the NLCS. Last year, Dylan, was very much a tale of two halves for the New York Mets. We sat here in about May and we took the piss out of you for about 3 weeks because you were just thoroughly depressed at how terrible the Mets were. And then all of a sudden, Phoenix from the Flames, they came with a wet sail, the Mets, and finished the season really strong to the point I was sweating them out for my 33-1 World Series tickets. This is the team closest to your heart, Dylan, so take us through the New York Mets for 2025.
Yeah, last year was definitely highs and lows, let's just say. I was down on them to start, and then the ending, I mean, it was fantastic. I was there during the playoff run. I went to a couple of the wild card games, and then I was there when Francisco Lindor hit that grand slam. And I've never been in a stadium that deafening with the noise. It was absolutely insane. So, yeah, highs and lows, definitely. And that could make your heart rate a little high. This win total, it's climbed 9 games since last season. It has dropped off. I see 90s and 90.5. I think it opened up around 92.5. So money is coming in on the under, and I think sometimes for good reason. They did add Juan Soto. They re-signed Pete. I really like our lineup. I agree with Francisco Alvarez. I think if you just look at our lineup, we could go head to toe with a lot of them. Francisco at the top, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Mark Vientos. They re-signed Jesse Winker as well, Francisco Alvarez. Hopefully, if the squirrel, Jeff McNeil, kind of gets back to the batting title he had about a few years ago, he's a good second baseman. You pick up Jose Siri. He's the center fielder as well. I think our lineup, not to be biased, but is a top 5 lineup in the league. It's the pitching that kind of worries me, if I'm being honest. Kodai Senga, we'll see how he winds up coming back. You got Dave Peterson. Clay Holmes has looked fantastic in spring training. He looks like he hasn't missed a beat. Sean Manaea is back, but he's hurt. He has inflammation. He's probably not going to be ready to start the season. We got Paul Blackburn. Hopefully Griffin Canning could do something. He had a 5.19 ERA last season, but it gives you a lot of innings. He had 171 innings, most out of the 4 guys I just mentioned. Obviously, Kodai was hurt, but Dave Peterson, he only had 121. Paul Blackburn got hurt late in the season. He only had 75 innings. Clay Holmes, he was in the bullpen kind of ish role. He had 63. So Griffin Canning could give us some innings. I worry about this team, to be honest. I lean over their win total. I sprinkle a little on the NL East. Just being a Mets fan, I would wait, if I'm being honest, because you could definitely get a better price in season, because the Mets at one point or another, they will struggle. And if you're still confident in them to kind of right the wrongs and right the ship, you could get a much better price in season. But this win total is a lot. I would say, they went on that little run in the postseason last year, but the path, I think, is going to be much more difficult this season. People are they're not going to take the Mets lightly this season. Like I said, the Braves, they're going to be back. Phillies, they're not really going to go anywhere. I don't know. The Mets, every time they have a high win total, I'll date the last 4 times. 2008, they had a 93.5 win total. They finished with 89 wins. 2009, 90.5 win total. They finished with 70 wins. 2021, 90.5 wins. They finished with 77. 2023, 92.5 win total, 74 wins. So, I mean, New York has finished below their win total in 6 of its previous 9 seasons. So, especially when everyone is high on them. So, when people are zigging, I kind of like to zag. Even though I do think we are a good team, 91 wins is a lot. I see anywhere from 85 to 88 wins. So I do kind of lean under. I know Ryan and Sean don't like us using the word lean, but I would kind of wait and hold the phone a little bit. I think we could get a better number in season, depending on how the season is going. But I would kind of sprinkle us. I do think we are, on paper, the more complete. When healthy, I do think we're the most complete team in the division. So I would take us to win the division.
Part of my handicap here, Dylan, is going to address those concerns you have about the Mets being Metsy, because I think they might be coming out the other side of that, and I'm going to back it up in a little while. Soto's projected numbers are just ridiculous. 6.5 WAR, 168 WRC plus 952 OPS. So Soto expecting an outstanding season. Lindor, people just forget about Lindor. He's so good. He's absolutely so good. And he never gets mentioned, or rarely gets mentioned. Mark Vientos fulfilled a little bit of promise. I like the 2 catchers that they've got at the moment. And then obviously re-signed, as you mentioned, Alonso, Minaya, Winker. Bits and bobs players, but leaves them in a much stronger position. Good Isenga. Peterson was good. Clay Holmes trying to convert from the bullpen to a start is always fun in games. We'll see how Clay Holmes goes there. And you mentioned Paul Blackburn and Griffin Canning. They've 2 show favourites they've been. Paul Blackburn, particularly when he was with the Athletics, was a show favourite when he was pitching at home. And Griffin Canning, I've had on far too many fantasy teams for my own good health over the years. And they've got a little bit of depth. Minaya, Frankie Montas. The bullpen's absolutely fine. But here's the thing, Dylan, addressing that other issue, is that David Stearns and the Mets have done a really good job of just solidifying everything about the club. A big part of Soto's signing was how they sold it to his family and the whole experience and looking after the other players and stuff that didn't necessarily always happen. And the Mets are a whole load better than that. And Stearns, did he come from the Brewers, I think? Is that right? He came from Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
They historically they had a deep team, maybe unspectacular. But it was never like an empty vessel. And the Mets is like this now. The Mets can plug gaps with bench players, with the farm system. The players are happier. The players are being looked after. And there's a feeling about that's all business about the New York Mets that you might doubt as a Mets fan, that you might not be familiar with. But there's just something about it that I seem to trust. So we'll see how wrong that goes for me. The Mets would be my idea of the division winners, Dylan, at plus 180. They'll be who I've taken. And similarly, I'd take the over 91.5 would be my play as well for the New York Mets, Dylan. I am high on them, so I don't know if that's good news for you or bad news for you, but I want a little bit of the New York Mets. We move along to the 2 lesser lights in the division. Let me tell you first about Rhythm. Rhythm is throwing an epic March Madness party, and everyone's invited. It's a first four watch party on Wednesday, March the 19th at the awesome Stadium Swim at Circa Las Vegas. Free drinks. You get to hang out with the SGPN boys. And Rhythm are giving away a $250 March Madness future for one random lucky Rhythm user. Come by and use Rhythm to help fill out your bracket and make some bets while you're there. Rhythm's March Madness stats and success from 2024, with UConn winning. The percentage of winners was 39% higher than in ESPN brackets as a whole. A free party plus a chance at a $250 future bet. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/party for details. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/party. And Underdog, we've got NBA, NHL, college basketball, whatever sport, you can cash in big with Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Underdog is offering a Luka Doncic discount for every Lakers game for the rest of the season. And for the football diehards, pick 'em projections for selected players' 40-yard dash times during the NFL Combine. Sign up with the code MLB SGPN to claim a special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code MLB SGPN. So, fourth in are the Washington Nationals here. They are any price you like to win the World Series. 250 to 1 to win the division. And the total is 71.5. They're the two most pertinent odds here. I get the feeling, Dylan, from what you've said earlier, is that you quite like the look of the Nationals coming into this season. And I agree with you. They won 71 games last year. So the total's the same, yes, 71.5. The first thing to mention when it comes to the Nationals is that there will be no Patrick Corbin Day next year. Every 5 days. We used to enjoy Patrick Corbin Day. It was one of our favourites on the show. But no such thing anymore. He's gone. They added a little bit of veteran power. Nathaniel Lowe and Josh Bell. Paul DeJong, another name. Because they have got a really core of good young players. So I don't mind them adding those three vets there. It's a nice mix. CJ Abrams, Dylan Cruz, who came up last year. Noah was very high on him coming up from college baseball. James Woods, Jacob Young, all with high ceilings. And I really like the rotation, Dylan. On a daily basis, we'll be queuing up to bet on Mackenzie Gore and Jake Irvin and Mitchell Parker. DJ Hurts was one of my favourites last year. He's high on my fantasy list as well. If you're looking to draft someone in the 300s, DJ Hurts is on there. And they've got depth as well. Mike Soroka, they brought in. He's actually the highest paid pitcher on the staff, Mike Soroka. He won a game tonight in spring training. Did Mike. So coming back from injury, or coming back from several injuries. Trevor Williams and the Japanese lad, Shinosuke Ogasawara. So they've got loads of depth. Like we've just sort of listed fewer pitchers there on the Braves and the Phillies. So the Nationals have got 7 or 8 they can go for. I'll be keeping a close eye on Washington this year. Definitely taking the over 71.5. And I've got a little bit of an extravagant bet to come to when we round up at the end of the show. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Washington. I think they can make us some money on various days this year, Dylan. And I absolutely will be taking the over.
Yeah, I like this team a lot. Like you said, 71 wins for the second consecutive season this last year. Finished 4th in the NL East. Similar depth chart, excuse me. But like you mentioned, Nathan Lowe, Michael Soroka, I thought he was a nice addition. A little add some depth to that rotation. And you mentioned it. Mackenzie Gore, I love Mackenzie Gore. I think Mitchell Parker at spots could be good. Trevor Williams was good. Michael Soroka sitting at that 5th spot, maybe even Jake Irving as well. I like the rotation. I really do. And I think they're going to be undervalued in a lot of spots in the market, especially early on. Excuse me, where they're going to be big underdogs. And I think they're just going to be mispriced where we could take advantage of them. I think a guy to watch out for too, James Wood. I think he's poised to take that really big next step in 2025. He played in 79 games as a rookie last season. OPS plus 122. He batted 264. finished with 41 ribbies, 9 home runs, 14 stolen bases. I really think he could take that next step. And in the rotation, he's probably going to bat third, maybe second in the lineup. So I do like him. My bet, I do like the over, but a little interesting. I'm going to go player prop here. Like I said, I think Nationals are another one of those teams where it was kind of hard to find a bet outside of the over under of the win total. But at plus 350, I'm going to take Dylan Cruz. Awesome name, by the way. He spells it the right way as well. Dylan. I like him to win NL Rookie of the Year. Los Angeles pitcher Dodgers rookie Suzuki. He's obviously the favorite at plus 200. Kind of a similar story to last year's market when Yamamoto, he did become the front runner. I think we got snubbed last year with Paul Skeens. Eventually, I had Jackson Romero won. I thought he did win it. I digress, but I do think Dylan Cruz to eventually become the betting favorite will be a thing, especially if the Dodgers are careful with Suzuki's workload. The Nationals are going to give Dylan Cruz plenty of opportunity and playing time. They're kind of still in that rebuilding mode where he's going to play a lot. If he plays 130 to 140 games, I just really like his chances making the most impact playing every day as opposed to Suzuki, who pitches just once every 5 days. So I think he's going to statistically have more of an impact than Suzuki as well. So against all among NL rookies. So Dylan Cruz to win NL Rookie of the Year, that's going to be my play. I do like the over as well in their win total, but at plus 350, I love the value.
Yeah, Dylan Cruz, like I said, Noah turned me onto him a good 2 years ago now. Kept an eye on him last year. He sort of was fits and starts, didn't really get up too much momentum. But yeah, he's scheduled to bat 2. And yeah, fingers crossed, the high ceiling there, Dylan. That come the middle of the summer, hopefully, you've got an exciting ticket there on your hands. Finally, we get to the Miami Marlins. This is a little bit ugly, but there's still winners and losers to be had. Miami are 300 to 1 to win this division. The total is 63.5. In 2024, the Marlins managed 62 wins. So, Dylan, what is it about this Miami team that's going to win over 63.5 games? And somebody is ringing my front door bell here. So you talk about Miami, now I'll go and see who's at the door.
Yeah, it was crazy because in the beginning of the show, someone rang my doorbell, and now we got someone ringing your doorbell. Definitely not the same person because, we're across the pond, but this team stinks. I'm sorry. I'm just not a fan of the Marlins at all. They fooled me last year. I thought they were going to be better than they were. I was high on them. One of my favorite futures was their win total over. They couldn't do anything last year. They're in the rebuild phase, 62 and 100 last year. They hired Clay McCullen as their manager. What will year 1 look like in a rebuild? I don't know. They signed my guy. Remember Cal Quantrill? They do sign him from the Colorado Rockies. But that's about it. They really didn't improve their roster. They basically they're going into this year basically the same team as they did last year. The only way I'm getting involved in the Marlins in the future market is to take them to have the fewest wins in the league at plus 500. The Marlins, this is a constant theme, but they are in one of the toughest divisions in the league. So a lot of losses are just going to come right there. And this team just lose 100 games last season. I think without any major additions to this offseason, this team is looking at another triple-digit losses. So I see anywhere from 55 to 60 wins for the Fish this season. I mean, outside of Sandy Alcantara, I really don't trust anyone. I like Cal Quantrill, but he's looked bad. Max Meyer, he had over a 5 ERA. Edward Cabrera at times was backable. Ryan Weathers was okay, but I just don't trust him. I don't know where the offense is going to come from. I mean, Matt Mivers, Jonah Bride, Jesus Sanchez, Connor Norby, Xavier Edwards at shortstop. I mean, I just don't understand where this offense is coming from. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Marlins to have the fewest wins in the MLB at plus 500.
Doorbell update. It was for next door. They were getting some food delivered. There is a young gentleman lives next door, so he's I don't know what he was having. Might have been a curry by the looks of it. Getting a curry delivered at what 11:15 on a Thursday night. That's hardcore, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
John's joined us in the chat. John is a regular listener on the Premier League Gambling Podcast, which, by the way, will be coming up live on our YouTube channel in about 20 minutes. So if you want to get involved in that. And Matty DM is impressed that I've just disappeared off camera to open the door halfway through the first show of the year. So yeah, get used to more of that silliness. Yeah, this is a AAA team, Dylan. Wow. You read out some of the names. I was going to do a little pop quiz. I was going to make some names up and then slip in a few Miami Marlins and see if you could spot the difference, because fucking hell, you go down this list and it's a madness. There's some fun young players. Conor Norby last year did some bits and bobs. For some reason, my home run model loved Conor Norby. He kept spitting his name out every day in September. Like, I think it was a fault somewhere. Matt Mervis, they picked up from the Cubs, is good. Kyle Stowers, who was one of the Orioles' bright young things, never quite worked out from there. I like watching Sandy pitch. I think Lonte was in our little private group chat last week, wanting to back Sandy for Cy Young. And Scott was trying to talk him out of it. Interested how Edward Cabrera and Max Meyer get on. Max Meyer is a good young pitcher. The Pen, I've not heard of any of them. Yeah, and remarkably, Dylan, you've picked the exact same bet that I've picked. You've read my mind, which is Miami to have the worst regular season record. So obviously they'll have to undercut the White Sox. I've got my White Sox T-shirt on tonight, by the way. Absolutely no idea why or where that came from, in fact. But yeah, so what, Miami 62 last year, were the White Sox finished on 41. Shit, that's a gap. But yeah, Miami could easily head 10 in the other direction, and the White Sox can catch them up. So yeah, 5-1 for Miami to have the worst regular season record is my play, and very much again on the under 63.5. So Dylan, that's all 5 teams covered one way or another. So I'm going to recap some of my best bets and give out a couple of the other picks that I liked, and a couple of player props as well. My first pick is going to be the Mets to win the division for the reasons I spelled out. And I understand this could be absolutely misplaced. I support Newcastle in this country. Newcastle and the New York Mets appear to have this thing in common, whereby if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. But I've just got this feeling that the Mets, from the top down, look a little bit more solid all over the club, not just in the clubhouse this year. So the Mets at plus 180. I'll take the Mets over 91.5, and I'll take the Nationals over 71.5. Two other bets here are the Marlins to have the worst regular season record at 5-1. And I wanted to do something with the Nationals. And this is a little bit of a reach, not much though. And it's the Nationals to record 80 wins is 4-1. Now, 71.5 is the line. We've both talked them up though, Dylan. We've seen a lot of teams improve. We've seen teams improve 25, 30 games from season to season recently. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but they can get to 80. 4-1's a fair price for a fun national team, Dylan. So give us your best bets, and then I'll give out my couple of player props afterwards.
Yeah, I do like that. Especially, we've seen teams just elevate and win 10, 15 games from the previous season. So for 4-1, I do like them to win 80 games because we both like the over. Dylan Cruz, for everything that I said, I do think 5-1, that's a great price. Just from the impact of statistically that he's an everyday player. He's going to play 130 to 140 games. Love him to win NL Rookie of the Year. I like the Mets to win the division. You hear my hesitation in my voice because I'm at the point in my life where you just got to see it to believe it. But I like them to win the division, but I just think we could get a better number in season because they will slump at one point. But I think my favorite bet, honestly, is the Phillies under 91.5 wins. I do like the rotation, but I just think we're going to see some regression in that second half where they finished 33-33 in the second half of the season last year. That's more of the season and team that I anticipated we would see. So regression is coming for them. We saw it in the end of the second half of the last season. They're a wild card team. They're probably get into the playoffs, but to record 92 wins and to go over their win total for 5 straight years, I think the market has caught up to them just a little bit. So I am going to dive under. That is my favorite. My favorite future for the NL East.
I've got 2 player props, so you've given yours out. One is for the New York Mets. Pete Alonso, we mentioned, high on the Mets. We think they're going to score a lot of runs. You've got Lindor and Soto, exceptional at the top of that order. And it's going to be Pete Alonso most RBIs. And he's 18-1. He could get to 130. Like, Pete Alonso, if he has a good season, those fuckers are going to be on base all the time. And Pete Alonso can knock them in. 18-1's a great bet. And I like to put a live bet on. I have just live bet, as we speak, the most regular season runs scored. Trey Turner at 33-1. Trey Turner going back to the top of the lineup, as we said, replacing Kyle Schwarber. He's actually talked about wanting to be the runs leader. He'll get on base a lot. He will run. He'll steal bases. He's not going to go mental. He's not going to go Ellie De La Cruz mental, but he'll steal 35 or 40 bases. And this Phillies lineup behind him should be able to knock him in. So most runs for Trey Turner. Looks very live. Because like I say, I think it's probably undervalued with the fact that he hasn't been leading off. Previously, it was Schwarber's job. Turner, top of the order, 33-1. So I have just had a cheeky tenner on that because I had a winner on the football tonight. So Trey Turner is one of my first bets for MLB. And I think, Dylan, that is me done. Do you have anything else you want to tell the people about before we let them go?
No, we got a few more future episodes. And like I said at the top of the show, we're just about, a week and a half away from Tokyo opening day. And then we're 3 weeks from today, the 27th, where's the grand opening. Opening day. I'm going to try to go to opening day for the Mets. It's in April. They're starting on the road this season, but it's against the Blue Jays. So hopefully I could go to opening day, and just happy we're back and can't wait for a very profitable season.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, mate. It's one of those things that, like, when you start talking about it, we could go on forever and ever and ever. I can't wait. Looking forward to the divisional previews, and even the Tokyo series is just a lovely little appetizer. And it's a great time for me, actually. There's I can take the day off work, get myself on the sofa, send everybody out to school, and these games start about 10 a.m. for me over there. So it's a great time for me. Thank you very much, Dylan. Appreciate it. Thank you, John and Matty, Captain Insano, and the Abstract Homo Sapien who joined us in the chat. Like I say, if you have caught the podcast, we do go live over on the MLB Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. Everything's streamed live. Everything's scheduled. So if you put your notifications on, you'll get a little alert when we are going live. And you can join us and give us a few winners because we're always in need of the help. Dylan, I will speak to you next week at some point, Tuesday and Thursday next week for the 2 previews. Come and have a listen to the Premier League show in 10 minutes if you want. Me and Bas will give you loads of losers, but we'll have fun doing it. But until then, we will see you all down the road. Cheers.